Good morning. Happy Thursday, everybody. I hope that you've had a good week so far and that everyone's as excited for Friday as I am. I'm actually having root canal round 2 tomorrow, so not super excited about it, but then it's going to be over and done with. I won't have to worry about it anymore. So today we are halfway through. I can't believe it. Today's chapter is chapter 15. That'll give you an indication. There are 30 chapters. So today's chapter is called The Struggle. And like a lot of the recent chapters, if you haven't watched the previous chapters, this one, there'll probably be some content that won't make a lot of sense if you haven't watched some of the previous videos. Regardless, it's you'll get the point. So it's called The Struggle, and it goes something like this. So I heard this once in a business conference, and I know that it's been said other times as well. And it's this saying that the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results each time. So I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There's everyone has sort of that thing for them, whatever it's been. So then you're just doing it. It's just it's not working. And that's sort of the definition of insanity, right? So every week I was going to this group and I was excited to go. I'd get there, we'd have an amazing session, and then we'd all go back to campus and back to our regular lives. And regular lives meant everything we struggled with. So it's just this cycle over and over and over. We would go to group. We would feel healed and renewed by the message that, whatever was being shared that week. And then we would go back to campus, and over the next 7 days until we have another group meeting, all the sin, all the lust, all the temptation in every direction. But that was okay, I guess, because we would just go back the next week and it's like a reset every week. That's kind of what was happening. So during my freshman year, I lived in a dorm that had community bathrooms. That caused a lot of temptation and lust and sin. There were smoking hot guys everywhere I looked. That created a lot of lust and sin and temptation, whatever. My roommate, while kind of odd, no offense to him, he was just kind of odd. He was gorgeous. He was ripped and amazing. Temptation, lust, sin, right? I mean, everywhere I went, it was I'm not hooking up with these people, right? But everywhere I go, I'm just distracted. There's sin, there's lust. What am I supposed to do? I try not to look, try not to be tempted. You try to, I'm not gonna look over there, but it's so obvious, and it just keeps happening. It's this loop. But then again, you go back to the group on Wednesday. So it's I'll be fine as long as I can get to Wednesday, go to the group, kind of be healed thing. I don't know. And so I felt really, really stuck in this cycle, right? And so I decided to bring it up with the leader, the one that was the psychologist in our group, because I was I don't know why this is so hard for me. It feels like other people are sort of getting over this and whatnot, but it's not working for me. And so we went to lunch, this psychologist person and I, and they recommended that I go to the Marriage and Family Therapy Center on campus. And that's what it was called, the Marriage and Family Therapy Center. And there were students there that would do sessions with you and whatnot. So it was in the Bible building. It was on the 3rd floor. And so I decided to make an appointment. So I went, and right from the beginning, it was pretty rough. I never met with one counselor consistently. It was there were several, actually. And they quickly figured out that the stuff that I was bringing up, talking about same-sex attraction and homosexuality, that's pretty heavy. And so very quickly, I was no longer seen by student clinicians, therapists. I was being seen by actual counselors, professors from that department. So very, very quickly, I don't know, it was just like, if it was the week to week, Wednesday to Wednesday thing that I was dealing with, now it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, every single week. And so this one-on-one counseling session, thing, it turned into a twice a week happening. And so, like, officially, with all of this therapy going on, I was going like 5 times a week. Isn't that funny? The camera's so backwards, by the way, on this side. 5 hours a week, I'm going to therapy to try and get over this problem of being gay, and I have same-sex attraction, and am I a homosexual? And so I'm in therapy all the time. And this is the kind of stuff that we would talk about. This was asked a lot. I don't know why. So when I said last week that it was going to get juicy, like, here we go. Here's where it gets pretty juicy. So the counselors would be like, did you masturbate this week? And I would be like, yeah, I did. And they would say, did you think about a man while you did it? And I, in my head, I'm like, yeah, several. But I'm like, yeah, I did think about a man when I did that. And then there was just this, like, guilt, like all kinds of guilt being, like, just everywhere. Like, obviously, I know that's wrong. You're not supposed to do that. I'm not supposed to be having these thoughts. No one could really come up with a solution as to why I did or didn't have them. But, like, I just knew I wasn't supposed to have them. I keep having them. And, like, every counselor wanted to ask about, like, if I masturbated that week. Like, this was just a constant thing. But none was as just kind of crazy as this experience. There was this specific woman once, and same question. Like, I swear, this came up all the time. And these sessions were an hour. So there's like an hour of content. She said, did you masturbate this week? Yeah, I did. Did you think about a guy? Yeah, I did. She said, can I show you something? I'm like, okay. So she took out this railroad spike, and it wasn't like sharp or anything, but it's definitely like, it looks like a big nail. It's a railroad spike. And she said, may I have your hand? And I'm like, okay. So I give her my hand or whatever. And she took the railroad spike and she just pressed it, not hard, like, it's not like she was hurting me, but she just pressed it right here in my palm. And she's like, do you feel that? That's where Jesus was hung on the cross. And every time you sin and you're thinking of boys, men, you're hanging him on the cross. Doesn't that make you feel terrible? Oh my gosh, like, even talking about it now, it's so heavy. It's like, you can't believe that this stuff actually happened and that it exists, but, like, this wasn't 50 years ago, y'all. This was 10 years ago, 9 years ago. I wanted to correct her right then and there and say, actually, research suggests that the spikes went through his wrists and not his hands, but that was neither the time or the place. But my point is, it was just like, it's crazy. It's crazy. And the lengths to which I was going to try and get over this problem were kind of crazy. So, other suggestions that were made to me during these sessions. One time I was told by a counselor that I should definitely look at straight porn because it's natural. And the more that I'm, what's the word? I'm like blanking because it's like so heavy. The more that I am subjected to it, the more that I might find it's good and natural. And I would want that too. Here's the craziest one, probably. I was told that I should try masturbating with paint thinner. That is an honest-to-God suggestion given to me by a counselor from one of these sessions. They said that it wouldn't hurt too bad, but it would hurt, and then it would create sort of this, like, negative reaction thing, and I would have a negative association to it, so I would probably stop doing it so much. Oh my God. So I never tried that, by the way. I never did that. It was crazy that I'm going to therapy 3 times a week, crazy stuff's coming up. The group session is, it's still kind of okay, but the one-on-one counseling sessions, they're intense. So freshman year ended, and I went home for the summer to Oregon, and it was a terrible summer. It was like I had found sort of this oasis at school, and then I went back home for the summer and worked at my old job at a really beautiful resort just for the summer. And it was like there weren't the friends and the Bible studies and the counseling and the therapy to sort of fall back on. And so it was a terrible summer. Well, I mean, I'm saying that as in like, because I thought that lusting after men was awful. It was awful in that sense. There was just like no one to control me. The first sexual encounter that I ever had in my life actually happened that summer. And I was in such a bad place, mentally, emotionally, all the ways, that it was actually some random Craigslist hookup. And he wanted to like literally go into the woods. And that's what happened. I mean, it sounds so bizarre to even be saying it out loud today. That's dangerous. Are you kidding me? Like, thank God I wasn't murdered kind of thing, right? And it's interesting. I'm bringing it up because it was such a terrible, awful experience that night in the woods that I was for sure convinced that that was another way that God was showing me, like physically showing me here on earth, how wrong it is to be gay, to be a homosexual, to struggle with same-sex attraction. It's terrible. So this thing in my head that I had always like fantasized about, like, sex and guys and everything. Well, I had this experience. It was absolutely tragic and horrible. And I guess that needed to happen so that I could know it is truly the worst thing ever. So that just like fueled me even more. I gotta fix this. So summer ends, my first and only anything that whole summer, because it like scared me to death. So I go back to school the next year, and I'm in sophomore, and I quickly just get right back into the cycle, going to therapy, going to group sessions, and it was more like this. You go to therapy, you get out of therapy, you see a hot guy walking by you, like fresh out of therapy, and you're like, oh, temptation, and then you feel really guilty, and then you go to the next session to talk about why you felt guilty because you saw the hot guy after your last session. Rinse and repeat. This is what happened all the time. To make things even more complicated, the group session, it really didn't happen my first year much, but my second year in the group, well, I just have a question for y'all. What happens when you put a few dozen gay guys, closeted gay guys, in a room together, all with raging hormones and all struggling with and wanting the same thing as you? Oh, they start hooking up. So the first time that ever happened, that sort of stuff started happening in the group, you knew that it was happening like with them, and then I had an experience in the group. And it's probably one of the guiltiest times I've ever felt in my life, because one, knew I should not have done that. That's like terribly wrong, right? But two, I really liked it. It was not a bad experience, not like the summer before. Oh God, it was horrible. Like I felt just like dirty. Like I'm wearing a white shirt today. It's like literally taking red wine or like choose your stain and just like splashing it all over your white. Truly like terrible. Like I'm dirty. I'm a terrible person. So that led to this whole new vault of guilt buried deep within me that I didn't even know existed, because now the one place that was sort of my little haven, safe place, well, now that's infected too, right? I cannot get away from this thing. So it's just, it's so weird to talk about now and look back, because at the time I just felt so just like lost and struggling. It was just this constant hyperloop. Temptation, sin, counseling, repeat. And I was just, totally messed up by it. So meanwhile, while this whole thing is happening, this crazy hyperloop, I go back to my roots of trying to be the very best Christian I can possibly be, because at least I'd have that to fall back on, right? So in addition to the counseling, I'm going to just continue to be the best at everything I can. So I really distracted myself with my major, with speech pathology. I was super involved in everything speech pathology. Did a lot in the department. I became the president of the Student Speech and Hearing Association. I grew it by literally 10 times. It was like up to 70 or 80 people when I was doing that. It was just crazy. And I was gone from my dorm room every day from like 7 a.m. to midnight, 6 a.m. to midnight, 5 a.m. to midnight. Just didn't want to be by myself ever. I hated who I was, because when I was alone, I was struggling so hard, and I had no one to distract me, nothing to distract me. And I just didn't want anyone to know the real Darren that was behind his dorm room door. To everyone who knew me and saw me, they thought that I was just as happy as could be. I was a fabulous actor. I mean, I get an Emmy, whatever, for that. I mean, it really, people just had no idea. And so here's another detail as to why they really had no idea I was struggling. Oh, by the way, I had been telling people since freshman year that I struggled with homosexuality. Like that's a real thing. So in addition to all of this, I had placed myself on a pedestal to the whole world, anyone I could, that I struggled with homosexuality, but that God was healing me. He was healing me. And so that really came from, there was this analogy given to me by the psychologist leader of our group, kind of at the beginning, that we should share it with people. We should be open with, telling people the truth about what we struggle with. And this was the analogy that was given to me. I was told that this is the analogy. It was related to mold. And one of the most natural ways to get rid of mold is to just get sunlight on it, right? And so this analogy of a bathroom, I don't know why, but a moldy bathroom was given to me. And so I needed to clean up my bathroom that's super moldy by telling people. So I did. I told the whole goddamn world. In fact, I don't want y'all to just run out and YouTube this, but like it's out there. Talk about what you put on the internet is there. I told everyone. I even told CNN. CNN descended on our campus when there was some sort of scandal at my school. And basically there was this queer press newsletter that was slipped under everybody's dorm room door one night. They still have no idea who, it had to have been a huge group effort because there are a lot of dorms. And I don't even remember exactly what was in this little newsletter or whatever, but it caused such a scandal. And, people were like, oh, they don't allow gay people at this school and blah, blah, blah. It blew up. So CNN showed up at our door. And little Darren, I don't even remember how, I think I was standing in line at the student center to get like a drink or something. And somehow like a reporter just walks right by me and they're just in line talking to the students. And I say, oh, I'm overcoming same-sex attraction and homosexuality. So I don't know what the big deal is. Well, she was really interested with that. And so she literally interviewed me, and I was on CNN. I was on CNN telling the world that I struggle with homosexuality, but I'm overcoming it. I'm overcoming it. So you can really start to see like all of this is cumulatively coming together to not make a very good situation. I'm in this total hyperloop of like sin, counseling, repeat kind of thing. I don't want to be by myself ever. And I just distract myself with every single activity under the sun that I possibly can to just, get away from it all. We didn't have alcohol. I'd never done drugs. So that wasn't an escape. It was just crazy. So I just felt super messed up. I was one person during the day and another person at night. And nothing I tried made the struggle go away, ever. The problem. It never went away. It was always there. One time as a junior, I actually became so overwhelmed that I ended up swallowing an entire bottle, almost an entire bottle of Benadryl. And luckily, I slept for 40 hours or something absolutely crazy. And when I woke up, I was mad that I was still around. If I was already going to go to hell, that's the whole reason I tried it. I don't say that I attempted suicide. I guess in a way I did. I did. I don't want to mean disrespect to people that are really struggling with depression and things like that. But I did. I did. It was awful. I was struggling with depression, actually. But when I woke up and all of that, it was almost as if I felt renewed again because God had saved me. So obviously, the age-old saying that he doesn't give us more than we can handle, I guess that must be true, right? Things were pretty messy, you guys. And not to mention, oh, by the way, again, we're in a Bible school. So every single semester, we're taking intense Bible courses with a lot of coursework, a lot of academia to them. We're studying Deuteronomistic history, apostolic literature, and apocalyptic writing, and all the details about the minor and major prophets, and the coming of the Christ, and all the Gospels, and the life of Jesus, and intensely. So my whole life is just filled with this God, 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 Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. He loves you. He died for you. You need to just accept everything that he's done for you. Meanwhile, I keep sinning. Can't stop it. So, I don't know if there was a way that I could have been any more depressed than I was. Nobody, and I mean nobody, except for one friend, really knew what was going on. And her name's Brittany. And if I didn't have Brittany, she didn't know everything that was going on, but we had formed a really special friendship back in freshman year. And she was the only person who knew what was happening at all. I had this boyfriend junior year, and that was super short-lived. She's the only person that ever knew about it. It was junior year. I had been doing this for 3 years now. Constant counseling, constant therapy, all the stuff, and nothing is working. Something, I knew something needed to change. Either I was going to try to kill myself again and just end this because I'm so overwhelmed, or something needed to happen. I thought there's got to be some sort of golden ticket. I heard that phrase this week. And in fact, I'm going to a musical tonight, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. That's what I thought. I thought there's got to be a golden ticket somewhere. I just haven't found it yet. So I was talking with some friends one day, and this idea about going on a mission came up, right? Well, that's something I had done mission trips in high school, but this was going to be a real mission trip with a real team and everything. And so I said, well, what is it and everything? And they said, oh, actually the chorus. And it clicked oh my gosh, yes, I'm going to go on this chorus trip, this international tour. So it was going to be an actual sort of mission trip. We weren't necessarily building houses and, doing heart surgeries kind of thing. But the whole point was that this chorus, all of us were going to fly over to Eastern and Central Europe and do this huge long road tour and go to all of the local congregations there and encourage them. And also do performances, public performances in all of the major cities. I was like, that's it. I'm going to go on a mission trip. Interestingly, I had actually already been on two international trips during the summers of my freshman year and sophomore year. And I had been to dozens of countries. That was with the honors college though, and it was very academic. So there was never this mission idea, right? And so that was kind of the next thing. And I didn't know if it was the golden ticket per se, but it like really distracted me from a lot of the stuff I was struggling with. And I got so excited about going on this trip, right? It was going to be for 3 weeks, 8 countries. And we had the most amazing choir director ever. He was also a music professor. And to this day, I think he's maybe one of the most brilliant people I have ever met. And he did such a good job of getting us as a group so excited about this mission trip. And it sounds kind of corny, I guess, to like say it out loud right now, but I like just the idea that I was going to go on this mission trip was saving me, y'all. I was like, wow, I need this. And so out of nowhere, this church in Little Rock was like giving scholarships left and right to people in the chorus that wanted to go on this trip. And so I got all the money just like that, $2,500 or whatever it was. So I got the money, everything came together, and I had something to look forward to. But I'll tell you this, never, ever, ever would I have guessed how much that would actually impact my life. Because what happened in Eastern and Central Europe in 2012 literally changed my life forever. And that is today's chapter. Sorry, it's kind of heavy. It is a heavy one. It was a hard time. A lot of tears have gone into remembering these details and writing them down, but I'm so thankful that I can share this. And to anyone that's struggling there now, like there's someone here. In fact, I can't say too much about this, but like I know with certainty there are hundreds that have escaped and moved on and built better lives. So that's one of the biggest reasons I'm doing this entire project. So that was the struggle. I hope that you guys have such a fantastic weekend coming up. And when we get together next week on Monday, we are going to hear about the answer. So that's it. And have a great day. See you soon.